Okay, group, this is the Unit 7 sequences and series review for your exam. We're going to start with 1A here. As you can see, the formulas are written out for you. We're going to start by determining if something is an arithmetic sequence, or if it's geometric, or if it's neither. So if there's not a common difference or a common ratio, it's going to be neither. We'll start with A. We're going to check for arithmetic first. So if we do negative 288 minus 576, we get negative 864. So we're going to see if that's common in our next set. So we'll do 144 minus a negative 288. That's going to end up being plus. This isn't going to work out. We can already tell. That's 427, or 423, I'm sorry. So that is not going to work. So it's definitely not arithmetic. We don't have a common difference. If we look for geometric, we're going to take negative 288 and divide it by our first number, 576. We get 1/2. So we want to see, does that work for our next set of numbers? So we'll do 144 divided by negative 288. That, in fact, does get us negative 1/2. Make sure you check that last one, because if there's a chance for it being neither, the last one may not work. This one does work. Okay, we do get negative 1/2 there as well. Since all of them are multiplying by negative 1/2, we say our R value is negative 1/2. It is geometric because we are multiplying. Okay, on part B, we're going to do the same thing. So if we do 15 minus 2, we'll check for arithmetic. That's 13. 28 minus 15 is 13. 41 minus 28 is also 13. So we have a common difference in this case of 13 because we are adding 13 each time. That means it's arithmetic or arithmetic sequence. And then part C here, if we do 2 minus 3/4, let's see, we end up with 1.25. And so then if we do 13 over 4 minus 2, that's also 1.25. And then 9 over 2 minus 13 over 4, we get 1.25. So we can see from here we are adding 1.25 each time because it's positive. So our common difference is 1.25. This is arithmetic. Okay, and this next one, we are finding the next terms, the next 3 terms in each sequence. So first, we have to figure out what is our common difference or our common ratio. Is it arithmetic or geometric before we start? If you look from 9 to 16, we can add 7 each time. So let's see if that's consistent from 16 to 23. 16 would be 4. Yep, we're adding 7. Okay, now if you have to use your calculator to find that, that's okay. But you can always do what we did on the previous question. You could do 16 minus 9 and get 7. You could do 23 minus 16 and get 7. That's how you know that your common difference is 7. So if we take 23 and we add 7, that's 30. Add 7 again, we get 37. One more time and we get 44. So since we had a common difference of 7, that is arithmetic. On part B, it looks like it's going up in numbers, but we have a negative. So something's going to happen with that negative because it's alternating. To get from 1 to 200 to negative 200, we could subtract 300. If we look here, negative 200 minus 300 would be a negative 500. So subtraction's not going to help us. Let's check for geometric. Let's check for multiplication. 100 times 2 is 200, but that would be positive. We want to see if negative 2 works. 100 times negative 2 is negative 200. And then negative 200 times negative 2 would be a positive 400 because we have two negatives there. So we're going to be multiplying by negative 2. We have a common ratio then of negative 2. Our next term would be negative 800. Negative 800 times negative 2 is 1600. Multiply that by negative 2, and we get negative 3200. This is geometric. The key here is finding what is the difference from number to number. Is it a ratio or is it a difference? All right, to get from negative 8 to negative 5, we can add 3 there. Okay? If you think multiplication, that one's not going to be as easy with multiplication. So let's see if plus 3 works. If it does, we're good to go. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2, so we're good to go on our positive 3. So our common difference here is 3. If we take negative 2 and add 3, we get 1. Again, we get 4. One more time, and we get 7. So this one is an arithmetic or arithmetic sequence. Now we're going to start using our formulas. Again, if you see the word sequence, that means you're going to use AN formula. If you see series, that's going to be your SN formulas because that's the sum. So look for those keywords. In part 3A, we're trying to decide, is it arithmetic or geometric? So kind of what we just did our last two problems, figuring out how do we get from number to number. So to go from 9 to negative 36, we can subtract a big number, but if you look, that's not going to get us to a positive 144. So we have that case where we have alternating negative signs and positive signs. So it's definitely going to be multiplication. 9 times 4 is 36. And again, you can use your calculator if you need to. But 9 times negative 4 will get us to negative 36. If we do negative 36 times negative 4, that gets us to 144. So we know that we are multiplying by negative 4. So we have a common ratio R. This is going to be geometric. It's geometric because there's multiplication. So we are going to be working with the geometric AN formula for part B. It says find the nth term formula. That's your AN formula. So here we're going to pick out our A1. We're going to pick out our R. N will stay N until we have a number to plug in. So AN equals A1. Our A1 is 9. That's the first term of your sequence. It's right over here. R is that ratio, that negative 4 that we found. So we can take those two and we can plug them into our formula. So it's AN equals A1, which is 9, times R, we found as negative 4 to the power n minus 1. And that is your AN formula in simplest terms for geometric. Now, in part C, it asks you for the 10th term. That means you need to find A10. So your n value becomes 10 in this case. So we can plug that in. Give myself a little bit more room here. All right, so we have 9 times negative 4, and then your power is where you're going to plug in that 10. You can simplify that to the 9th power, but this is one that you have to put in your calculator. 9 times negative 4 to the 9th. You should end up with, it's a big number, negative 2359296. So that would be negative 2,359,296 for your A10. Now part D is different because it has a special word in there, sum. Sum means we're going to use our series formula. So we are going to be using this SN formula. The A1 and the R do not change, okay? And in this case, our N is still 10, which is nice because we just solved for A10. That will come in helpful. So we're going to find S10. S10 will be A1 minus A1 on top times R. So our A1 is 9. So we'll have 9 minus 9 times our R to the 10th power. We want that N power over 1 minus R. Okay, to simplify that, you can leave the top as so, and then on the bottom, that will be 1 plus 4. You can go ahead and write 5. You'll put that in your calculator. And you should end up with negative 1.8. That's negative 1 million. So this would be the sum of the first 10 terms. Okay, there's a sentence to show what we just found. S10 means the sum of the first 10 terms. And then we found our answer to be negative 1,887,435. That's the sum if we were to add the first 10 terms together. Okay, our next one, same process. We need to find if it's arithmetic or geometric. So if we look at number 4 here, to get from negative 40 to negative 23, we need to add something because we're getting to lesser negative numbers. So the difference here, we could add 17. Let's see if that works to get from negative 23 to negative 6. That would be, yep, plus 17. Now, you can try your division trick. Do 23 divided by 40. Okay, negative 23 divided by 40, and you would get 0.575. You could try that negative 6 divided by negative 23, and you get 0.26 something. So that's how we know it's not geometric. You can always check both, but once you find that something works, you're good to go. We know that since we're adding, we have a common difference of 17, and it's arithmetic. We're going to write our nth term formula, and this time we're working with arithmetic sequence, AN, A1 plus N minus 1 times D, and that's up at the top for you. Again, N will be N. We need A1, and we need D, and we'll stay N. A1 is the first term in your sequence, negative 40. We found D to be 17. So we can go ahead and fill that in. So we'll have A1 plus N minus 1. Oops, going to need to make some room here. Times 17. Now it says to give it in simplest terms. This is not simplified. So we can kind of combine some like terms, distribute, make things look a little nicer. Our first step in doing that is to distribute the 17. And then we can combine like terms. So you'd have 17n, negative 40 minus 17 is negative 57. So this is the simplified version of your AN formula for an arithmetic, for this sequence. So in part C, we're finding the 123rd term. That means n is 123. So we're going to plug that into the formula we just found. Okay, and we are going to simplify. You can just do that by putting it in your calculator. And you should end up with 2,187, meaning the 123rd term of that sequence is 2187. All right, part D, we're going to do the sum. The sum of the first 123 terms. That's Sn, okay, or S123, because in this case, n is still 123. So our arithmetic series, okay, sum means series, formula is the n over 2 a1 plus an. In this case, an is a of 123. We just found that. So that's a big help. So if we do our n over 2, 123 over 2, and then we plug in our a1 plus our an, which we know we just found, an is a123, which is 2187. We put that in our calculator. We will get 132,040.5. That's the sum of the first 123 terms. There's a sentence to talk about what we just found. The first 123 terms would add to, if we were to add them all together, they would add to the 132,040.5. All right, we have Max. Max is training for a marathon. The first week of training, Max runs 15 miles. We're going to stop right there. They just told us the A1 because it says first week of training. So A1 is 15. Each week, he runs 2 more miles. So that's going to be either our common ratio or our common difference. If he's running 2 more each week, that's adding on to. We know addition means it's arithmetic. So our D is 2. We're not multiplying by 2. He's just adding 2 more on each week. So it says how many miles will Max run in the 16th week? That means n is 16. So we want to know not how many miles he runs from week 1 to week 16. We want to know how many in just week 16. That means we're going to do A of 16. If it asked for the total miles in all 16 weeks, that's where we would do the S of 16. It's just asking for the 16th week. So we already have our A1. Sorry, we're working with this formula up here if we didn't figure that out. So 15 is our A1 plus n minus 1, n is 16, times our common difference, D, which is 2. We can put that in our calculator. You can do it by hand as well. And you will get 45. So in the 16th week, Max will run 45 miles. Okay, given the series. Now, series means sum. You can see it by the word series, and you can see that we have plus in our list here. We need to figure out, is it arithmetic or geometric? So here, if we take 1 and we go to negative 11, negative 11 minus 1 is negative 12. If we do negative 23 minus negative 11, that's also negative 12. It looks like each time we are subtracting 12. That means it's arithmetic. Okay, we say subtraction, but that's like adding a negative. So our common difference is negative 12. Our nth term, this is our AN formula. We need our A1 and we need our D. We don't know N, we're just going to leave it as N. A1 is 1, that's the first term. D is your negative 12. So to fill in our A1, or to fill in our AN, we have 1 plus N minus 1 times our common difference, negative 12. To simplify that, we have to distribute our negative 12. Be careful on those negatives. Negative times a negative is a positive. So then if we want to put everything together, we'll have the negative 12n. The 1 and the 12 are like terms. So we combine those. That's the simplified version. Now, in part C, it says find the sum of the first 8 terms. That means your SN formula. But we don't know AN yet. Okay, we don't know A8 yet. To be able to find S8. So to find A8, we're going to use our formula that we just found. Negative 12 times 8 plus 13. We're just plugging in 8 for N. And we would get negative 83. Now we can do our sum formula, our SN formula, right up here. We'll be at N over 2, so 8 over 2, times A1, which is 1, plus our AN, which is now A8, negative 83. And if you put that in your calculator, or you can do it by hand, you would get negative 328. So this means the sum of the first 8 terms is negative 328.